Our daughter, 20, recently decided to return to college after taking a year off. She dropped out of college after a few months, saying it wasn't for her. We adamantly advised against it, but she ended up moving in with her boyfriend and started working in her family's restaurant business. There was still a little north of $30,000 in the account that is set aside for her tuition money. My wife and I wanted to remodel our kitchen for a while, so we decided to go ahead and use that money. Well, now my daughter's decided to go back to college because it didn't work out with her boyfriend, and she didn't like any of the jobs she had following that. She was shocked that we had used her college money towards the house, even though we had this conversation before she left. She asked if she could have access to her college tuition account before she moved in with her boyfriend, to which we explicitly said no, and that it was saved for her tuition only and nothing else, and that if she left, we'd use it for something else. She said she thought we were bluffing and didn't mean it, and that we needed to help her pay for college, since we're still paying for her younger brother's yearly tuition. I told her she needed to work part-time and go to a cheaper place, like a community college rather than a state school. She's been angry over this and ignoring her mother's phone calls. Her mother has said maybe we can still help her financially, but we're nearing our retirement age and a little behind our retirement goals. So I don't want to take away from our savings just because my daughter made some bad choices. I feel like I've given her good alternatives and even offered to let her stay at our house free of rent so she can focus on paying for college. Also, I just got my youngest into college, so I'm no longer in the parenting mood, LOL. Am I the idiot? This situation is harsh on your daughter, but not the idiot. She decided to drop out, and you told her that you'd be using the remaining college fund for something else. I also presume that at the time of her dropping out, she presented her decision as permanent, since she said that college wasn't for her, meaning that you don't know how long she would have taken to go back to college if she had gone back at all. But I thought you were bluffing is an inadequate response. You don't get to use that line when you're making a life-changing decision and are given conditions by the people financing you. She just learned a very expensive lesson. You spent all $30,000 on a kitchen remodel? That's not retirement goals, and she only took a year off. Have you spent all of it already? I don't know, I think you are the idiot for not having the foresight or consideration that she might regret the boyfriend thing and spending the money that quickly. Many kids make mistakes during college, mainly because it was just a year off. You didn't need to jump to use that money. I get she made a choice and the mistake over a boy, but you could have been a safety net for her. Parents are supposed to account for the fact that kids make stupid mistakes and choices. You took it as an opportunity to make sure she can't bounce back quickly over something cosmetic or superficial, and you did it quickly, which is gross. Yes, I agree. If I were in OP's place, and if I wanted my daughter to reconsider her life choices, I'd keep that money set aside for at least a few more years, only for school, and encourage her to return. OP, you saved for your daughter's education for 18 years, yet you didn't hesitate to put the money to other uses the moment she diverted from a traditional educational path. If you truly meant the money for her education, you could have held it for her for at least a year or two in case she returned to school in the future. And I would be more worried about her being in a potentially bad or abusive relationship rather than just saying, fine, whatever, we're keeping the money now. Did OP ever investigate whether the boyfriend was toxic in any way? Whether he stirred things coercively regarding her dropping out? Or whether he was pressuring her for access to the college account when asked why exactly she left college to work for his family? You are the idiot, OP, especially for the not in the parenting mood. Just because your kids don't live with you doesn't mean you can stop parenting. I'm nearly adult female, the oldest of 6. My siblings are my twin Amy, John young teen, Andrew tweeb, Lily young child, and Sophie toddler. Our mom is a stay-at-home mom, and we don't have any babysitters or nannies because we had a bad experience with one a few years ago. So if my mom has something where she can't take the younger two, she either asks my grandparents to babysit or Amy and me. Sophie's developmentally delayed and may be autistic. She has an appointment for an assessment, but she's such a sweet baby and isn't too difficult. My mom had a meeting at Lily's school and was going to take Lily and Sophie and fill the wagon stroller with toys to keep them busy. But they just opened up a big Play-Doh set my grandparents got and didn't want to stop playing with it. She tried to get them ready to go, but they were crying because they didn't want to go. Grandparents didn't pick up when she called to see if they could babysit. So I said Amy and I would watch them. Amy was driving home and Mom couldn't call or text, but she was running late, so she left. Amy got home maybe 20 minutes after our mom left, and I told her we were babysitting. She asked why we didn't tell her before, and I said it was a last-minute thing and she was driving, so we wouldn't call or text. Amy doesn't like babysitting or kids, but it really isn't hard. Lily and Sophie got bored of the Play-Doh after Amy got home, so I helped put it away, put Encanto on, changed Sophie, and gave them a snack. Our mom got home before the movie was over. When our mom got home, Amy ran to her and asked why she'd make her babysit. Amy didn't even do anything. She just ate half the snacks I made for Lily. Finally, our mom said she really had to go. They really didn't want to go. Grandparents didn't pick up, and I volunteered. Now Amy's mad at me for forcing her to babysit. She didn't do crap. So I wanted to know if I was the idiot. You are the idiot. You volunteered someone else's time to do something they don't like doing. If you volunteered to do it entirely yourself, there'd be no issue. But you also volunteered your sister, who wasn't there and it wasn't necessary. Next time, just volunteer yourself and leave Amy out of it. What? Not the idiot. Did she have other plans? LOL. It was only 2 hours, and she didn't even have to do anything. That's just something that comes with being the oldest sibling from time to time. I think it would have been selfish had you just sat there and let your mom struggle. It's not like you volunteered her to babysit for an entire weekend. I don't really understand this. OP could do it all herself and did it all herself. So if she overstepped by saying, "we'll babysit," she also could have just excused her sister as soon as she started complaining. I think it's probably a twin mentality, like OP sees herself and her sister as a unit. We is more natural for her than I, even though she was fully able to babysit on her own. It seems like kind of an overreaction to something that ultimately didn't even happen. I suspect that you wanted everyone to pile on Amy, saying she's the idiot for not helping with the kids after you volunteered her without her knowledge or consent. If that's true, then yeah, massive idiot. I, 20 female, was raised by my older half-brother, David, 43, from age 5 and up. My mom had her own issues, and my dad wasn't exactly father of the year. So when David was told I would be put into foster care, he did everything he could to get custody of me. About a year later, he met his wife, Clara, 37. The rest is history. They had their daughter, Stevie, pre-tween, when I was a teen, and they just had another baby girl last Friday. Clara's parents came to stay with Stevie and me, since David and Clara are still at the hospital due to some slight complications. Thankfully, everything is okay, though. I definitely could have handled Stevie on my own, but David said that didn't have to be my responsibility, and that Clara's parents wanted to come and help out anyway. Honestly, with Clara's parents in the house, it feels like I'm babysitting 3 children instead of just the one I would have been watching, but that's beside the point. When we were winding down and watching some TV before bed, Stevie asked me when Dad was coming home, because she already knew her mom and her baby sister needed to stay with the doctor for a little longer, and she said she missed them. So I said that Dad would be home soon, and that he and her mama and baby sister were missing her just as much. When Stevie was asleep, Clara's mom asked me why I referred to David as my dad when he was my brother. She said she didn't like the idea of me confusing Stevie and the new baby like that, and that I should just be honest about the situation from the get-go instead of pretending it's different than what it really is. The only reason I even called him Dad instead of David is because Stevie had asked about Dad, and my brain just didn't feel the need to put my brother's name in there. But if I did call him my dad, I feel like that's my business. I told her that it wasn't her place to tell me what I could and couldn't call David, and that Stevie wasn't confused about anything because she knew that I was her dad's little sister. The new baby will know that too. I said that my family consists of the 3 people staying at the hospital down the road and a little girl sleeping in her room up the stairs. No pretending is involved, because that is what it really is. We're family. I didn't stick around to continue the conversation because honestly it hurt my feelings. David texted me a little while ago asking if Claire's mom and I had a disagreement. I don't know if she told him what the disagreement was, but he then said he hoped that she and I could solve it because he doesn't want Clara to be stressed out right now. And Clara's mom has a habit of making things much bigger than they need to be. The last part makes me think I'm the idiot. I don't know how this woman is, and I just responded on reflex more than anything else. I feel like I messed up a bit here, but I don't know if I'm overthinking it. Not the idiot. She is unbelievably rude to challenge you on that. When my nephew asks where Grandma is, I say, Grandma's in the kitchen, getting supper ready. Is she my grandma? No. Grandma is her name to them, so I'm referring to her by their name for her. It's that simple. Mother-in-law has some strange territory issues. That's like when my son asks where his dad is. I don't say, Bill is in the kitchen. I say, Daddy's in the kitchen. What? Sounds like she just wants to stir up drama. And Clara's mom is the way she is because people let her get away with it. You did nothing wrong. OP, you need to tell David that he's the one who needs to make it clear to his in-laws about the family values in his house and who's considered family. This lady may have been influenced by Clara. Maybe they expect you to move eventually. Do you live in your parents' house? Just be nice and reassuring to Clara that you won't be an issue while her mother's here. But leave the door open to discuss some arrangements now that it's going to be one more kid and you'll be 21 soon. My grandma, 65, and I, 21 male, get along well. She's fantastic. I love her and look up to her. That's why my perspective can be biased, and I need some different points of view. Grandma had 5 children. My dad, 43. My Uncle Tom, 42. My Uncle Max, 35. My Aunt Fiona, 47. And my Aunt Sandy, 30, with Grandpa, 66. Grandpa was a terrible father and a garbage husband, an alcoholic who spent all his money on liquor and never supported Grandma while she worked her butt off to provide for her kids as a baker. Finally, she got tired of it and kicked him out in the 90s. After that, she stayed a single mom and only provider. Did he pay child support? No. Did he help her buy a house for his kids? No. Did he ask for custody and try to spend time with his kids? No. He only visited once in a blue moon. Grandma and Grandpa never divorced, since my grandma didn't believe in it, and she was always a single mother. My grandma started dating William, 67, 2 years ago, but she didn't introduce him to her kids because she was afraid of their reaction. So I was the only one who knew about the affair. Grandma announced that she was moving to William's house this past July, and everyone was furious and started accusing her of cheating and that she was choosing her affair partner over her kids, and she was hesitant about moving in with William. But I encouraged her because he makes her happy, and he's a nice man. It's been almost 2 months and they refuse to talk or have low contact with her, which is hurting her. She asked my grandpa for a divorce, and he got mad at her and accused her of cheating. They were talking crap about her, the 6 at a family dinner. Thus, I told them to grow up and stop acting like kids since they're not. I told them they should be happy about their mom's happiness because that woman dedicated her life to making life easier for them. And it's so unfair that they crap on her while praising my grandpa, who had girlfriends, by the way. They all called me an idiot for not considering their feelings, and they said that something didn't feel right about their mom dating at this age. They accuse her of cheating, but that isn't cheating. They haven't been together for around 25 years, and my grandpa had a couple of girlfriends. Yes, they were mad at him too, but it's time to grow up. Am I the idiot for telling them to grow up? I think they need to understand that their parents aren't getting back together, in case they have hope, and that Grandma has a right to be happy. I mean, she did her job already without any help. Not the idiot. Legally, they're separated. Unfortunately, your grandma will have to divorce Grandpa if she does want to have a marriage between her and William recognized under state and federal law. It's not an affair since they're separated. It's not cheating when you've been separated for 25 years. The fact that they think it's cheating is just insane. Did they expect her to be alone forever? They're acting like children and are selfish. Your grandma has the right to be happy at any age. Your family needs to accept that and let her have some joy and happiness in her life when she can focus on herself instead of babying 5 adults alone. I feel sad for Grandma. To realize that she raised such ungrateful idiots, how utterly disappointing for her. Can you even name one instance where their father did anything significant for them? OP, you're fantastic for having your grandma's back. I hope your grandma and William have the best golden years together, and that her children get their heads out of their butts and grovel at their mom's and William's feet for being so stupid. My husband took our pre-K son on a ski trip with his friends. A few days before they were supposed to come home, he called me to tell me he had to go to Singapore for a meeting and that he would fly our son to me alone. I was in Paris and they were in Aspen, so it wasn't exactly a short trip, so I told him no, as it was too long for him to be without one of us. He tried to convince me to agree, as he would make sure that he was on the plane, and the crew would look after him during the flight, and then I would be there when he landed. But I told him I didn't like the idea at all, and he needed to fly with him or take him to Singapore with him. Finally, after a long heated discussion, he agreed to accompany him to Paris, even though it would mean he was cutting it close to the time he had his meeting. I didn't realize how upset he was by this until he landed, and he made a snide comment about how ridiculous all of this was, and how our son would have been perfectly fine coming on his own. Am I the idiot? Wow, the crew would look after him during the flight? No, the flight crew are not babysitters. They will not be looking after him during the flight. He'd basically be in the care of total unwilling strangers who had the misfortune of sitting next to him. Not the idiot. Your husband planned his trips badly. I was on a flight from Paris to Canada a few years ago, and my seatmate was an unaccompanied 6-year-old girl. She was lovely and better behaved than some adults, but I still ended up being thrust into the parenting role for her because there was a lot that she needed help with. That is way too young to be flying alone. I can't imagine how she would have managed had I not been willing to help her out with stuff. I'm appalled. I looked up how long that flight is out of curiosity, and it's 13 hours and 40 minutes plus. Every flight I saw said connecting, so your husband could make sure he gets on the first plane, but if he had to switch planes at the connect, you've got a little child trying to navigate an unfamiliar airport alone. Plus, 14 hours is way too long to expect flight attendants to be watching a child. They're not nannies. It sounds like your husband only thought about himself if he was mad at you for this. Really? Really? Your husband is a trash father if he thinks it's acceptable to put your child on a what? 15-hour flight internationally with connections by himself? I'm sorry if this is offensive, but is your husband insane? You were absolutely right to make him accompany your son on the flight. Also, there are some airlines I wouldn't even trust with my baggage. I definitely wouldn't trust them with my children. Also, I don't know what kind of job your husband has, but I can't wrap my head around getting called during your vacation and being expected to drop everything to attend a meeting in Singapore. Was it so important that it couldn't wait or couldn't be handled by someone else? Your husband is aware of Zoom, right? This adult man needs to get several grips.